So in this video, we are going to have a look at the 10 convict criminals who were selected to acquire the elixir of life from the dangerous island known as Kataku, in exchange for a pardon for their past crimes. And we will start this list with the criminals, whom we didn't get to see much. So starting our list from number 10, we have the cannibal courtesan Akujinu. So Akujinu was a beautiful woman with long flowing strands of hair that were attached with pins. She had a curvaceous figure, and she wore a slightly loose kimono decorated with skulls, snakes, and tree peonies that opened at the top to reveal her shoulders and her cleavage. She was described as a very seductive and vile woman, and she was also a cannibal who had a taste for male flesh. She always killed men after first making them succumb to their sexual temptations with her beauty. Then at some point in her life, she became a known criminal who had a reputation for killing and cannibalizing men. But she was eventually arrested by the authorities and was given the death penalty as her punishment. But then Akujinu was offered a chance by Yamada Asaminshion to be pardoned from her crimes if she were to complete a mission that required her to venture to an island that is said to possess the elixir of life, and return back with it for the shogun to consume. Having favored this option, she agreed to participate. But her story ends very quickly as she is executed by Shion for trying to seduce him on the island. So, moving on from her, we have the killing Buddha Haribo. Haribo was a very elderly man with sunken eye sockets and a bald head. He wore a dark, frayed monk's attire. His body was also strangely constructed, possessing coiled limbs that are able to extend for at least 2 meters. As a death row criminal, Haribo was considered to be a man who was too dangerous to be allowed to live. Haribo had the unique ability to stretch or contort his arms or legs to restrain and constrict his opponents. Due to how his body is constructed, he was also one of the few criminals that managed to survive a massacre full of criminals who were also sentenced to death. But his life was also cut short, because while sailing at sea, Haribo attempted to kill Chobay. But he failed, as Chobay managed to free himself from Haribo's restraints and killed him. Now after him, we have Moro Makia, who is also known as the apostate. So Makia was a man with short hair, prominent eyelashes, and lips. At some point, Makia developed an ambition to overthrow the shogun, and he went about it by forming a cult that was based on multiple religions. Eventually, he was arrested by the authorities and was given the death penalty. However, Makia was offered a chance by Yamada Asaminshion to be pardoned for his crimes if he were to complete a mission that required him to venture to an island that is said to possess the elixir of life. Upon agreeing to the mission, he was taken to the island with other criminals. After making landfall, Makia encounters Yuzureha, who wishes to form an alliance. He agrees to the alliance, but he is used by her as bait to gain intel on the nature of the human-faced insects. His body then becomes a blooming corpse, and is left to be consumed by the human-faced centipedes. So after him, we have a criminal called the Hunter of the Hundreds, Keon the Quarreler. Keon was a very tall and muscular man. He wears a mask and a white hood with a scratched metal headband. He wore beads, a frayed, and a sleeveless traditional monk's robe. Keon was a man who had a bloodthirsty passion for weapons, and he believed that he could bring out the true capabilities of every weapon he used. He was undergoing training as a warrior monk, but then got obsessed with weapons and took his training to the extreme. He had stolen over 100 weapons from martial artists, and he also slaughtered a large number of acclaimed blade masters. Soon after arriving on the island, Keon encounters GabiMeru and attempts to kill him with a surprise attack from one of his weapons in order to eliminate the competition. But GabiMeru survived his surprise attack, and when they fought, GabiMeru was able to overpower him and kill him. After moving on from this guy, we have Roku Roto, the giant of bison. Roku Roto was a child who suffered from an abnormal case of gigantism. He had messy dark hair, wore a mask covering his entire face with only a single eye hole, and was immensely muscular. Roku Roto remained in silence, and usually spent his time lounging or sleeping. The only time he reacted was when he was feeling hungry, which resulted in him going on a rampage. Roku Roto was born as a large infant in a village with his mother and father. While growing up, he spent his time eating and playing with rocks. Some time ago, he killed his parents along with his entire village, and became known as the Giant of Bison. Ever since he was an infant, Roku Roto was born with tremendous physical strength, capable of slaughtering his parents and his entire village. He had enough power to smash the ground, grab and throw a tree effortlessly with one hand, and instantly kill a person with a single palm strike. When he attacked Aizen, he destroyed the entire upper half of his body in a single swing. According to GabiMeru, guarding against Roku Roto's attacks was nearly impossible, and a single graze from him could mean the end. With a single blow, he broke past GabiMeru's immense defensive power and left him badly wounded. Despite his size, Roku Roto was extremely fast and had extraordinary reflexes. He was fast enough to instantly kill Aizen and jump out of the way of Sajiri's sword attack, after momentarily falling to the ground. And in my personal opinion, he deserved some more screen time, because I wanted to see him fight some other characters as well. Now moving on from him, we have Nurigai. So, Nurigai is the last remaining member of the Sanka, and she's also a wrongly convicted death row criminal. After the shogun called for convicted criminals to acquire the elixir of life from the dangerous island known as Kataku, in exchange for a pardon for their past crimes, Nurigai accepted the invitation to be a part of the mission. Upon taking the mission, Yamada Asaman Tenza was chosen as her assigned monitor. While still only a child, Nurigai was capable enough to survive a massacre of multiple death row criminals, and she soon became one of the few in 1,000 years to survive the horrendous ordeals that Kataku had to offer, such as the monsters and the members of Lord Tensen. After her, we have another shinobi girl known as Yuzuriha. She grew up living in a shinobi village with her little sister, who was suffering from an incurable disease. After she died from her illness, Yuzuriha swore to live her life for the both of them, and started her career as a kunoichi. Yuzuriha is a very capable kunoichi, and she had a criminal record that caused her to be considered too dangerous to be kept alive. She was also strong enough to survive a massacre full of death row criminals, while her hands were restrained. After her arrival on Kataku, Yuzuriha became one of the first few in 1,000 years to have managed to survive the ordeals the island had to offer, and it should be noted that among the criminals sent on the mission, Yuzuriha was the only one who was aware of the life energy known as Tao. Yuzuriha possesses Earth attribute of Tao, which is called Ki, from where she originated. She was a proficient user and had enough knowledge of its properties to be chosen as a teacher to instruct the surviving members of the Vanguard Party. Using Tao, Yuzuriha was able to sense the presence of others, read the intentions behind her opponent's attacks, and suppress her Tao to mask her presence. She was also able to use Tao in conjunction with her ninjutsu and her weapons. Other than her Tao, she knows multiple lethal ninja techniques. That makes her a very strong opponent. So, after Yuzuriha, we have Chobay. He is a well-known bandit leader known as the Bandit King, and is responsible for multiple crimes committed. After getting arrested, Chobay became one of the few criminals recruited to acquire the elixir of life for the shogun from the dangerous island known as Kataku. Chobay is a strong criminal who is capable of taking charge of a village full of bandits and striking terror in everyone's heart. In Jika's opinion, his criminal record was so high that he could have earned up to 100 death sentences. When he awakened his Tao, Chobay quickly understood how to manipulate it. By using the dashi as a prime example, and ultimately overpower him, even though the dashi was more well-versed in Tao, and had received special training from Lord Tensen. He was capable of fighting equally and overpowering the likes of GabiMeru. He is easily one of the strongest and most interesting characters in Hell's Paradise. Now moving on from him, we have Gantzetsusai. Gantzetsusai considers fighting to be fun and lives to seek out and battle strong opponents that can make him feel a thrill whenever he has to draw his blade. Even when critically injured, Gantzetsusai carries a satisfied smile from the adrenaline he gets from fighting, and feels as though he is becoming stronger with each injury. So, Gantzetsusai is a powerful swordsman who is widely known in Japan. He was qualified enough to partake in the shogun's mission to acquire the elixir of life, after surviving a massacre full of death row criminals, while his hands were restrained. After his arrival on Kataku, Gantzetsusai was capable of cutting down a manchin, which is a feat Rien noted to be extraordinary for a human. During the raid in Horai, Gantzetsusai was able to last long enough to bring down Tao Fa, as well as help defeat the combined Kishikai of Ju Fa and Tao Fa. He's just extremely powerful and a very interesting character. So after him, we only have one remaining criminal, and he's GabiMeru. GabiMeru is a shinobi prodigy who has been deemed far too dangerous to confront. As a child, GabiMeru already possessed raw talent that not only allowed him to become one of the rare few children to survive Iwagakurei's deadly training regimens, but also put him ahead of the others in becoming the next GabiMeru the Hollow. He is recognized in Iwagakure as the strongest GabiMeru the Hollow in history, and he became both feared and admired by his peers. His infamous reputation for killing his targets made him out to be a cold-blooded monster to society. Even when outnumbered, GabiMeru has proven himself to be more than capable of taking down his enemies single-handedly. GabiMeru was even able to take down the 54 Iwagakure shinobi sent to kill him for his treachery. GabiMeru was also able to hold his own against the giant Roku Roto, whose monstrous strength caused the deaths of two high-ranking Asamin. After his arrival in Kataku, GabiMeru became one of the first few in 1,000 years to have managed to survive the ordeals the island had to offer, reach Mirai where Lord Tenzin previously resided, and successfully escape. He was able to fight against the invincible members of Lord Tenzin, and he ultimately pushed them into using their Kishikai. Among the surviving humans that infiltrated Horai, GabiMeru's overall capabilities caught Rien's attention as being the most valuable ingredient for Lord Tenzin's ritual. And Rien even said that it was the first time in centuries that a human like GabiMeru appeared on Kataku. So, that's all for this video, and if you guys enjoyed it,